That looks excellent. Hello everybody, it's Paul Ducklin here from Naked Security at Sophos, back for another week's Naked Security Live talk. As you can see, today's topic is Shop Safe Online, and then in brackets, you know why. So just in case you don't know why, just in case you're from a part of the world that doesn't have this, but may be getting it this year, I'll just show you what to look out for. This is what you can look out for on Naked Security. That's the article. It's entitled Black Friday, Stay Safe Before, During and After Peak Retail Season. So just for those of you who aren't familiar with the concept of Black Friday, let's quickly explain that, because it does actually confuse a lot of people who have never lived in the US or don't know where the term comes from. Basically, as I understand it, the US celebrates Thanksgiving. It's Thanksgiving for the harvest of the year. By government proclamation, it's the fourth Thursday in November, I think, so the date's standardized throughout the country. It's the biggest national holiday, and of course everybody takes the Friday off to make a bridge to have a huge long weekend. And Friday traditionally has been a massive retail day, so basically everybody goes shopping. There are fantastic sales, fantastic bargains to be had, fisticuffs in some stores if some historical footage is to be believed. And it came to be known as Black Friday, not because there was a power failure and the lights went out, there's no racial connotation there. It's basically black as in ink. And if you think back in the old days, accountants used black ink for positive balances, red ink for debits or negative balances. That's where we get the term in the red from, even though we don't write the numbers in red anymore. So the idea of Black Friday is many retailers did so well that by that day, by Black Friday, they'd covered their expenses for the year, and for the rest of the holiday season it was all about making profits. It was the day they went into the black, thus Black Friday. Now, all over the world now, many countries have taken on this idea of having Black Friday sales. But the problem is, if you think now, lots of countries have Thanksgiving or harvest festivals. For example, in Canada, I think it's earlier because their winters come earlier, that they have their harvest. So their Thanksgiving, I think, is it the second Monday in October. So it's not even a Thursday. So the Friday doesn't really come into it. In the UK, for example, it's Harvest Sunday. That's a Sunday. It's the closest Sunday to the autumnal full moon, known as the harvest moon. If you're in the southern hemisphere, of course, it's the other way around. So it's actually going to be typically in March or in April that you get your harvest Thanksgiving. In other words, now Black Friday has gone truly global. There's no specific Friday after Thursday Thanksgiving to tie it to, and in fact there's no need to tie it to Friday at all. So what's happened with Black Friday is we've ended up with linguistic crazinesses like welcome to Black Friday week, which sounds like a bit of a contradiction in terms, and even I seem to remember last year getting spam in the UK welcoming me to sales that were celebrating Black Friday month for the entire November. And as you can imagine, this year, all over the world, because of coronavirus restrictions, it's very likely that most of our Black Friday sale shopping is going to be done online. In fact, in some countries, for example, in the UK now, there are many shops, they can be open, you can go and collect stuff, but only if you've already ordered it online. And a commenter on the Naked Security article that I showed you has already commented, we just published it today, has already said that in the US, because of these restrictions and because in many states or municipalities, there are limits on how many people can cram into a store at a time for social distancing reasons, that actually, even in the US, even the idea of a traditional Black Friday is being stretched out over the whole month. So the reason that people tend to get worried about cybersecurity around Black Friday time is, let's be honest, there are loads of juicy deals available. And that means everybody knows somebody who got a fantastic 4K screen for $125 when the normal price is $995 last Black Friday. So there are some fantastic deals out there to be had. But of course, where there are lots of deals and lots of emails, and even where legitimate companies are saying, you know what, you can get that 4K screen for half price, but a lucky 5 purchasers will actually get it for 20% of the going rate, then you can see that even legitimate retailers are using those sort of squeeze to buy techniques. And it's no surprise that crooks love that as well. So what that means is that there are lots of people who suddenly get concerned about cybersecurity when Black Friday rolls along. Now, if you're watching this video, then you're probably not one of those people. You probably recognize that as far as cyber criminals are concerned, they're not specifically fixated on Black Friday or even on Friday. In fact, for the cyber crooks, any day that has the letter A in it, or the letter Y for that matter, they're interested in scamming you. But there are people who kind of neglect cybersecurity until they feel, hey, I'm going to be going online, I might be taking risks, I might be buying something from a retailer I haven't done business with before, maybe I should do something about it. Well, maybe you and I can use that to our advantage by convincing those people who may have been a little bit slack about cybersecurity so far. If we can use Black Friday and the sales season as a reason to get them more interested and to do something positive about cybersecurity, it won't just benefit them for the month of November. It'll benefit them for the days, the weeks and the months after that as well. So if it takes Black Friday to get somebody to want to do something about cybersecurity, go with that and use it as a reason. So I've come up with 6 tips that you can use yourself. You can go and check these things, but they're also great things that you can, like, if you like, preach or evangelize to other people, because none of them actually require you to be technically skilled. You don't have to learn how to program or how to do JavaScript or anything like that. They're fairly straightforward things that you can do all the time that, in my opinion, will greatly improve your cybersecurity and reduce the risk that you'll be scammed today, yesterday, tomorrow, next month, next year, or whatever. So the first thing I would recommend, and this is particularly relevant if you're going to be going out shopping or if you're going to be online, and that is write down, and you could get an index card like this. So the technical ability you need here is you need to be able to use pen and paper, that's all. Write down on a piece of paper, stick it in a drawer, the contact details for financial institutions like your bank and your credit card issuer. So if you suddenly need those numbers, for example, to cancel your card, you've got them. Now, I know we always advise people take out your credit card and turn it over. There'll be a number on the back. But what if you lose your credit card? What if your phone, where you've got all the data backed up, gets stolen, for example? And the last thing you want to do when you're in a squeeze and you feel, I really need to contact my bank, the last thing you should do is rely on contact details that you received recently in an email or a telephone call or a text message or anything like that. Because if the message is fake, then the contact details will be fake. But when you get through, whoever's on the other end, the crook on the other end, will pretend that you've reached the real institution. So writing down that number of your credit card company so you can call them in an emergency without relying on something that somebody else sent to you is a fantastic idea. And the problem with just, oh, well, I can easily look it up on the internet, is if the reason you need to call them is something's gone wrong with your internet connection, maybe you've got locked out and you're not sure why, if you can't look it up on the internet, then you'll actually need it written down, or else you might end up relying on information that is not quite truthful. The second thing I would advise you to do for any online transactions, and for some people their banks may not support this yet, for some people it may be quite a new feature that their banks are offering, for other people their banks may offer this feature, say, in their banking app, but they just don't know it's there yet. But quite a lot of financial institutions these days are offering in their banking app some kind of quick lock service. So if you misplace your credit card, you think, oh golly, I can't find it, I wonder where it is, you can jump into the app, lock your own account instantaneously, even before you call the bank, and then if you do find your card and realise it hasn't fallen into the hands of crooks, then you can easily unlock it rather than waiting for a new one to be issued. So that quick lock can be a real gift to you if you need it in a hurry. So for example, if your card gets stolen and you're able to lock the account instantly via, say, an app on your phone, even before you call the bank, remember, the faster you act, the less time the crooks have to do any evil stuff with the details they just stole. The third thing I would recommend is revise or learn about features in your browser that you will find in the settings, typically under the name autofill. And what a lot of people don't realise, or they realise and they're quite happy with it because they think it's a great feature, almost all browsers these days have some kind of autocomplete feature. So they will typically remember a variety of things for you so that you don't have to keep typing them in over and over again. Now that sounds like it's bad from a security point of view when they're thinking about passwords, credit card numbers and physical addresses. The idea is it stops you making silly mistakes that cause problems later on. But it's important that if your browser is holding things like addresses, payment card info and passwords for you, that you realize that it's doing so and that you regularly go and review what information your browser already knows about you. So this is a feature, but if you don't realize what your browser's got, you could get yourself into trouble. Now it's different for every browser. I think in Firefox you'll go to something like, I think it's preferences, privacy and security autofill. In Edge it's something like settings, profile, payment info. In Safari I think it's settings, Safari, autofill. So it's different for every browser. But all the browsers make it easy to see what they're holding. Now they don't supply that information unless you want them to, but you may not want them to have that information so close that you can submit it by mistake. So learn how that works in your browser and make sure that your browser isn't keeping information about you either that you no longer want it to have on file, or worse, that's actually incorrect and you might be compounding an error over and over again without realizing it, thinking that your browser's doing you a favor. The fourth thing, this is particularly relevant if you're in the US. I know that this is possible in the US. To the best of my knowledge, there are other countries that do this. In the US, learn what a credit freeze is and how you can use it. Now, my understanding is in the United States, it's a regulatory requirement that the credit reporting agencies have to allow you to put what's called a credit freeze against your name. And very simply put, what that means is if you or anybody else tries to apply for credit, a loan or a credit card or any kind of borrowing in your name, they won't be able to, because so you will in fact lock yourself out of applying for credit cards and loans. You can always unfreeze yourself. It's a little bit of a hassle if you need to apply for a loan. But what it means is that you won't be taken by surprise by crooks who have stolen or learned enough about you that they can go and apply secretly for credit or a loan in your name. And this does happen. It's a very nasty side effect of identity theft, where the crooks take out a loan, get a whole load of money, run off with it, and you're left with a legal problem of trying to explain why you didn't take out that loan. And a credit freeze can actually stop that side effect of identity theft at the cost of a little bit of inconvenience to you, having to go and deliberately unfreeze your credit history when you yourself want to apply for a loan. Let's hope that should be pretty infrequent, and therefore the hassle will be well worth the block or the resistance that it gives to crooks taking out loans that you don't even know and end up carrying the potential legal responsibility for. The fifth thing I would recommend, particularly if you think that you might be buying stuff online from retailers that you're not really sure of, or you've never bought from before, or it's a small time shop and you're not quite sure how secure their shopping cart operation is. Maybe they're not allowing you to pay with a major broker. They've just got their own payment page. It might be secure, it might not be, and I can understand why you might be wary, but you might think, it's an independent vendor. I've never heard of them, but I don't mind spending $30 with them. So one way to be able to do that while managing your risk is consider buying a prepaid debit card, which works like a regular credit card. It has the 16-digit number, it has an expiry date, and it has a CVV, the magic code on the back that isn't on the mag stripe. So you can use those online, but they're not connected to any other account that you have. So it's not as though that if somebody takes a lot of money out of it, that could accidentally come out of some other account that you've got. And basically, you're managing your risk to the maximum amount that you pay for that card when you buy it. So if you buy a $50 card, when you spent the $50, or a crook gets hold of it and spends the $50, that's it. The card just runs out of money, it implodes, and the number is automatically no use anymore. So that's the fifth way that you can mitigate your risk if you want to buy something from an independent vendor that you've never heard of before, but you kind of feel, well, I want to give them a chance, but I don't want to put myself in danger. And the last thing, I have to say this because I say it every time, turn on two-factor authentication. Those one-time codes, they typically come by text message, or you generate them in an app on your phone. Turn on two-factor authentication for any account that you can. Now that, for many people, that won't directly protect you when you're shopping online, because for many credit card transactions, it's just a question of putting in your card details, your long card number, the expiry date, the name on the card, and the number that's only ever printed on the back. It's not in the chip, it's not on the mag stripe or anything like that, the so-called CVV code, the 3-digit secret code that essentially is meant to validate that you actually have the card in your hand. And now some banks in some countries, they do provide some kind of phone-based thing that when you do a credit card transaction, a message pops up on your phone and you have to quickly reply. Some people don't like that. They find it a hassle when they're just spending $3 or $4 at a supermarket to have to get their phone out and click yes. But when you know you're going to be shopping online, that can be a great thing, because it means if a crook tries to use your card, a message will appear on your phone, which will give away the fact that some skullduggery is going on. But the main reason I'm recommending two-factor authentication here is not so much to protect your credit card as to protect your email account. And in a world where lots of us don't really use email anymore, we've probably got WhatsApp or Instagram or WeChat or Telegram or Signal or something like that, much, much cooler than using email. Even in a world like that, almost all of us need an email address, and more importantly, we use it as the vehicle for password recovery for most or all of our other accounts. In other words, if a crook gets your email account, even if you don't use it a lot, they may not only have access to your email, which means they can pass themselves off to your friends and family as you, which is bad enough, but they may actually be able to take control of your other accounts as well by doing password resets and grabbing the email that comes back, and that might be enough for their reset. So the better you protect your email account in general, the better you protect all your other accounts. So let's whiz through those things again. They're things that you can do for yourself, but they're fairly easy to present to other people who aren't technical, saying, look, consider doing these things. In many cases, they're just options you turn on in software. I can show you where to do that. Or they're things you can go and ask your bank about, and they can just enable for you. And you don't really have to do anything except to accept that they're there. So the first one, just going through them again. Number one, write down on a piece of paper, put it in a drawer, keep in your pocket, contact numbers for things like your bank, your credit card issuer, in case you need to contact them in an emergency. And the reason you can't look up the number is that your phone got stolen or your credit card with the number printed on it got lost. So writing those down means you have a trusted place to get those numbers if you need to call, and you won't get tricked by crooks sending you messages saying, hey, you need to call this number now, and when you do, you're deeper into the scam. Second tip is, if you have an app that you're doing banking with, or however your bank does it, you may have these days a quick lock feature which allows you to temporarily freeze your account or lock up your card so that transactions just fail, even if you tried to do them, and then you can unlock it almost immediately. And that means if you think you've lost your card, you can freeze it, go looking for it. If you find it somewhere where you know crooks won't have had it, then you can reactivate your account and you don't have to go through the hassle of going into the bank and cancelling it and waiting for a new one. It's a very quick way of responding if something goes wrong. The third tip is, most browsers these days have a feature called autofill. Make sure you know where those features are controlled, and we've got the settings for all the 4 major browsers in the article on Naked Security, where to go looking, and that way you can see which passwords, which credit card numbers, which addresses your browser's keeping on file. Make sure that certainly if you want them on file, make sure they're correct so you don't make a bad thing worse. And if you suddenly realize, hey, I don't actually want my browser to know that credit card, you can get rid of it, but if you don't look, you might never be sure. The fourth thing is, particularly if you're in the US, look into the idea of a credit freeze, which is a way of stopping somebody doing a credit report in your name. And if they can't get a credit report, they're not going to issue a loan or a credit card. It'll just be declined. Apparently this does not affect your credit score. And what that means is it makes it a little bit more of a hassle to you if you need to apply for a credit card or a loan, but it makes it very much more difficult for the crooks because they can't easily apply behind your back like they might be able to do if they have enough information about you and you don't have a freeze in place. The fifth thing is that prepaid credit cards, many countries do allow you to buy these. You can buy them for cash, and then you can use them online for things like home deliveries for small values. And of course, when the money runs out, the card basically implodes, is no more use, and that basically limits your exposure. It also means that if that card does get compromised, it has no connection to any bank account that you already have, so it can't accidentally cause money to be sucked out of any other account. It just exists, if you like, in a sort of a debit island of its own. So if you pay him $50, you could lose $50, but you can't lose $51. You're limiting your losses. And lastly, as I mentioned, two-factor authentication is your friend, particularly for email. It makes logging in to check your email that little bit more tiresome, that little bit more painful. Yes, it means when you want to log in your laptop, you better have your phone handy so you can look up the code. But remember that if crooks get hold of your email address, particularly during busy spending season, they are not just going to read your email. They're going to use your email to try and do password resets on any other account they can find that's connected with you, in the hope that they can take over even more of your digital life. So to finish off, I just want to give you 3 little sayings that you can repeat to yourself. Maybe sit on your hands so you're away from the keyboard and the mouse, and then here are 3 things you can repeat, either them all or any one of them, to yourself before you go online and buy something or approve something or give away information. Just make sure that you don't do anything too quickly, because online shopping, it really is a case of click in haste, repent at leisure. So the 3 little sayings are just little rhymes you can repeat to yourself. If in doubt, don't give it out. Very, very simple to remember. The second one is be aware before you share. Do you really want the person at the other end to know what you're about to tell them? And lastly, a little 3-word tagline that the US government has promoted for years. I love this one because it makes you think before you do anything. And that is simply stop, think, connect. So thanks for listening, everybody. And if you do go shopping and you do get some fantastic bargains this Black Friday season, good luck to you. But please don't let the scammers have a feast at your expense. Thanks for listening, and until next time, stay secure.